of my new favorite commercials involves a young woman talking to her friend, pouring out her concerns about a relationship with her boyfriend. Her friend, who sits across the table from her, is engrossed with her cell phone. And whatever's on the screen, you can imagine she's barely listening and gives the occasional uh-huh type of reply. That's when the narrator calls in Teddy Bridgewater, a professional athlete, to take the friend's place. Teddy immediately sits down, locks in, maintaining eye contact and using the type of affirmation that shows he's really listening and that he cares. Today's first reading reminded me of this commercial because God speaks to us every day. However, at times, I'm afraid that we can be like the young woman's friend, distracted by our phones, other distractions, or habits. This year, I've really noticed the lead up to God speaking to Samuel, the part where we learn about the context of Samuel and Eli's relationship with each other and with God. First of all, we learn that young Samuel is ministering to the Lord at an apprentice level under Eli, and that revelation of the Lord and visions were infrequent during this time. We also learn that Eli is elderly. We heard his eyes had grown weak and he couldn't see. But here's the great verse for any of us of a certain age. Yet the lamp of God was not yet extinguished. Samuel is sleeping in the temple of the Lord, where we hear that's where the ark of God was. In other words, he was close to God when God called him. But as we know, he thought it was Eli, which if you think about it, makes sense, because no doubt Eli would have needed to call out to Samuel many times a day for help. And for the first two occasions, neither the young nor the older man understands what's going on. But God persists, and on the third time, Eli sees with the eyes of faith and tells Samuel, go back to sleep. I love that part. Go back to sleep and say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening if he calls again. And as we've heard, the next time, God calls Samuel by name. And this time, with the help of Eli, Samuel responds, speak, for your servant is listening. It's important to remember that Samuel was living a good life. He was serving Eli, a man of God. He was learning about God, and yet he needed the elderly Eli, whose physical sight was gone, yet the lamp of God was not extinguished, to give him help. I think it's a great reminder for young and old about how God is with us and can use us at any age to help others to grow closer to him in our families, our circle of friends, our community. As we hear this reading from God, along with today's gospel, I think there's some natural reflection questions for us to think about today. First of all, am I a good listener with God and with my family and friends, with my coworkers and classmates? Second, do I recognize the value that the elders in our families and community possess as believers in God and their own inherent dignity as children of God? And third, how has God spoken to you in the past, maybe even earlier today? And finally, how can I help my family members hear God better? Jesus reminds us in today's gospel that doing the work of God requires that we spend time in prayer. As we heard, Jesus rose early in the morning and he went to a deserted place to pray, to listen and to speak with God the Father. My brothers and sisters, if we want to be good listeners, we need to make the time to pray. And in that sacred time, to be silent and to listen, so that we can recognize when God is calling us to do or not do something. Then we can move forward in our lives with confidence that we're on the right track and we can help others to do the same. And just remember, if you stay close to God, if you hear him call, just say this: "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." And he will lead you, just as he did Samuel and all the saints.